So what I'm going to do for this video is that not only I'm going to give you my review for NXT, but throughout this entire video, I'm going to talk about my predictions as well for TakeOver 2. So with all that out of the way, let's get this started. Here is my review for this week's episode of NXT. So this is the final show before TakeOver 2, and the road to this special event for NXT next week has been really good. And what I like about this episode of NXT is that they concentrated and focused on the three main matches surrounding the entire 2-hour special next week. And that is the tag team titles, the NXT Women's Championship, and the NXT World title. So with that being said, I like that this episode really emphasized on those three matches, and how they done it was actually pretty good. And the first match on the show was Alexa Bliss versus Charlotte in a non-title match. And what I like about this match is that you really didn't need a long match to establish that Charlotte needs momentum going into TakeOver 2. This was very short and simple. And what's funny is that I thought Alexa Bliss done more in this match than Charlotte. To me, I felt like that she carried this match for Charlotte, and then Charlotte got the win over Alexa Bliss. And that's just how I view this match. And then out comes Bayley. She wanted Charlotte to shake her hand. She gets slapped for it. And then Bayley hits her finishing maneuver on Charlotte, planting that seed that Charlotte could end up losing the title. And this is, one of these cliche moments where you think when someone is going to lose the championship, they might come out victorious in the championship match. It's just one of those things. The person who gets the last word doesn't get the last word at the pay-per-view. It's just how it goes. And it's kind of predictable in that area. So I have a feeling that Charlotte will retain the NXT Women's Championship here at TakeOver 2. But if you want to base this match here on popularity, I think Bayley is more over and is more well-rounded than Charlotte. So with that being said, I think Bayley should win this match at TakeOver 2, even though I think Charlotte will end up winning this match. And one other thing that I noticed about the show is that this was a very stacked card on this week's episode of NXT. There were 6 matches on this show, and usually I say, well, that's a bit too much for 1 hour, but I can take an exception on this week's show only because this is a show before a special event on NXT called TakeOver, and that they really needed to concentrate less on the wrestling and more on the storytelling and the build-up and the promo segments. And I like what they've done here with the NXT Championship going into TakeOver 2. What I like is that we heard from Tyler Breeze saying that he's going to win because he's the most good-looking out of the 4 guys in this match, in this Fatal 4-Way match. We heard from Tyson Kidd how he would describe his opponents, but yet he was really describing himself and why he should win the championship. We also heard from Sami Zayn and said that he wants to pin Neville more than anyone in this match in order to become the champion. And we also heard from Andrew Neville said that he wants a challenge, and that's why he decided to face all 3 of these guys to face for the NXT Championship. And what I like here is that we each heard from the 4 individuals in this Fatal 4-Way match. Not only that, we also got to see them in the ring. We saw Tyler Breeze versus Ty Dillinger, a very, very short match, direct to the point. Tyler Breeze hits the beauty shot out of nowhere and pins Ty in this match. We saw Tyson Kidd go one-on-one with Adam Rose in an OK match. Tyson Kidd goes over via submission submitting Adam Rose to the sharpshooter. We also saw Sami Zayn take on Marcus Louis, one half of the Legionnaires. And what's interesting is that I like that the announcers brought up that there's going to be a hair versus hair match and TakeOver 2. You know, just push that to the side. And this was more about Sami Zayn going over Marcus Louis. So I like what they've done here with that match. And also we saw Adrian Neville take on CJ Parker. I like that Adrian Neville went over in this match. I think CJ Parker needs a little bit more time to develop some character to go over. And he's really not ready for the big leagues just yet. And even though these matches were very obvious of who would win these matches, I'm applauding NXT for trying to make it as hard to predict this Fatal 4-Way match going into TakeOver 2. And if I had my money, I'm going to pick on Adrian Neville to win this 4-Way match. Even though I think Sami Zayn is the favorite, I don't see him winning. I think it would be the easy way out, like I said last week, for Sami Zayn to pin anyone in this match, even the champion. I just feel like that if Sami Zayn is going to win the championship, it should be in a one-on-one match with the champion. I think that will come in the future, but for now, we'll have to wait and see if that does happen. So next week, it will be a 4-way match. Adrian Neville, Sami Zayn, Tyson Kidd, and Tyler Breeze. Like I said, Adrian Neville to win this match. And what I also like about this episode is that they really done a good job in building up this Fatal 4-Way match. No bullshit where you have a discussion panel where these 4 guys talk for 20 minutes like you're used to seeing on Raw. This was very simple, straight to the point. Each 4 of these guys had separate matches with other individuals that are not in the match. And to me, that was a smart decision on the part of NXT. So we get to the main event on NXT, and that was to determine who will face the Ascension for the NXT Tag Team titles at TakeOver 2. Here we have the Vaudevillains, Aiden English and Simon Gotch, taking on Sin Cara and Kalisto. I like to call them the Luchas. And overall, this was a fun match to end NXT. I don't think this was an outstanding match, nor was it a bad match. This was a good to solid match. I think that this match could have went a little bit longer, but I guess there's only so much NXT can do for a 1-hour show. So I can live with this match, despite that this match probably could have went a little bit longer, maybe 2 to 3 minutes longer, for a more satisfying ending. But I like that the right team went over here. Sin Cara and Kalisto went over. They take on the Ascension for the NXT Tag Team titles. My only problem is that I think that the Ascension should have just dropped the titles without having to defend them and potentially lose the titles to the Luchas, because I think that would make them look weak. But it all depends how NXT is going to book this match and how they're going to book the end result of this match. So I hope NXT doesn't back themselves into a corner here like they already have. I think that this tournament should have ended with Sin Cara and Kalisto winning the titles at TakeOver 2, taking on the Vaudevillains, instead of having this tournament to determine number 1 contenders. But we'll see what happens at TakeOver 2. I think the dynamics when it comes to the wrestling aspect will actually be very good. You have a dominant team in the Ascension taking on a couple of high flyers, and that match alone on paper actually looks good. Will it deliver? It's a good possibility. So we'll see what happens at TakeOver 2. And based on the structure of this week's episode of NXT, I feel like that the Tag Team title match will end up being the first match at TakeOver 2. And also the NXT Women's Championship will probably end up being the match right back stab in the middle. And the main event will be the main event, the 4-way match for the NXT Championship. You also have other matches like the hair versus hair match between one half of the Legionnaires, Sylvester Lefort taking on Enzo Amore from Team Soft. And you also have Bull Dempsey taking on Mojo Rawley. I don't really care about that match, but I'm going to say Bull Dempsey wins that match. So overall, this was a good to solid show of NXT. I like that they focused more on the developing and building up to the pay-per-view event rather than focusing on emphasizing on the in-ring performances of everyone in this show. So like I said, overall this was a good show. I would rank this 7 out of 10. And if you saw this episode of NXT, what did you think about it? Comment below, let me know. And also, what are your predictions for TakeOver 2? You can also comment below and tell me what are your predictions for the NXT 2-hour special event next week. And also, you can hit that subscribe button down below this video to follow MRB Wrestling on YouTube. You can even also follow us on Twitter at the MRB Wrestling Review Show, and you can also like us on Facebook as well. And on a final note to all you viewers watching, get plenty of rest and always do your best.